All right, good evening. I've got 6:30. I'm here to call to order this meeting of the Columbus Common Council, our regular meeting for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. Pat, if you're ready, could you please take a roll call for us?
Gray.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reed. Here. Ryan is excused. Tylen.
Here.
Tome.
Here.
Trexler.
Here. Thank you. If able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. This meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Next item is to approve the agenda. Unless there's any questions, alterations, or deletions, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved for the evening. Next is correspondence and communications. I didn't see anyone signed up this evening. Was anyone present that wished to sign up that didn't have a chance to? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for February 17th, as well as the Council School Board joint meeting for February 6th. Picnic license for St. Jerome's Congregation at 1550 Farnham Street. That's a reoccurring license for the next year, so there's 12 months listed on the agenda, and also application for operators licenses for the term of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2021. The names of the applicants are Kristen M. Reinke and Caitlin L. Higgins. Any questions on the consent agenda? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion on that motion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Move on to old business. Consider and take action on the United Liquid Waste and Recycling Incorporated contract without the hold harmless clause. I'll turn it over to Dave or Attorney Johnson, because I'm assuming something happened since the last meeting when we approved the contract contingent upon the hold harmless.
Nothing happened.
Okay.
I sent an email to the two contacts that I had for United, telling them what the council's motion was, asking them nicely to include the language or to respond to me with a reason as for why they were not going to add the language, and have heard nothing.
So we don't have an effective contract at this point from our assumption.
Your options right now are to forget about this or approve the contract as it was presented to you at your last meeting.
Which would be to waive the hold harmless agreement.
Right, and which would require a new motion.
Okay. Discussion with the council. I'm assuming this was brought forward by John originally to have a plan in place in case we do go over our sludge limit for what we can store locally. I think it was a good exercise to at least approve it at the last meeting, to have that contingency that we'd like to see that language in there, but if they're not responding, we don't have a backup plan for the sludge storage at this point for the wastewater treatment facility. Ian?
Like I said at the last meeting, I'm perfectly comfortable moving forward without the language in there and moving forward with the contract as is.
Yeah.
While I'm very irritated at their current lack of response, I'm also not very concerned with the lack of reciprocity. This is just a backup, and we really should have one. So I'm okay with it.
Johnson?
Are there any other vendors at all that possibly could do this, or is this the only vendor within the, this geographic area of Wisconsin that we could turn to. That every municipality contracts with this vendor and waives this clause. We're the outlier.
John Nemers here from the wastewater treatment plant. I'm sure John probably has some information he can share with us about that.
Was a wet fall, potentially a wet spring. It's hard to find. There aren't many of these places available, especially that close. There may be others that are substantially not far further away, but the cost of that would be. We're limited at the plant, and this spring looks to be like we will be pushing the limits even further than we have. We have a plan going forward, but this, in the meantime, to bridge that gap, we're struggling a bit. I can maybe do some things at the treatment plant too. It's not really the best alternative, but
But I guess my question is, this is a vendor that does this work, right? Does the hauling.
they do. They have a facility, and they take on other communities' waste, similar to what we're asking for. They have a permitted facility.
Right, and are there other vendors that do this work that they do, or is this the only vendor in the region?
The only vendor. There's other ones that are looking to do this because of the need. They're just reluctant to make that jump into that business. But really, that's the only vendor.
Okay, and this vendor has contracts with other municipalities, is the assumption?
I'm assuming that. I'm not sure of that. It was we had a contract in place and that kind of we let lapse.
Okay.
I think we used that option once or twice maybe, but it's been in place for several years. We let it lapse because we hadn't really needed it, but conditions, or maybe I don't remember exactly why we let it lapse, but in any event, this year the conditions with the sludge that we're producing on wet conditions, especially in the spring. In the fall, the farmers are a little more willing to accept it.
Sure.
Spring makes it a little more difficult to do that.
All right. I'm just curious if other communities waive the requirement for a reciprocal hold harmless agreement or not, but that's probably something you're not aware of. So.
That I don't know. I've reached out to them this week and similar, and I haven't gotten any response back over the last between these meetings. A little frustrated with that, but I asked if we could haul the product. Reached out to the DNR if we needed to be licensed, similar to they are to move that haul that material. They didn't think so, but nobody would really commit to that either if we needed a DOT license. We don't need it on our truck to haul it to our field, but if we're traveling down the roads differently than what just for our local hauling it to another facility. Not really sure of that either.
I understand with the lack of vendors, if it's a distance issue, I'm sure the cost may be a bit prohibitive to be going with someone that's further away than Climate, I believe, is where this vendor is located. That we'd probably be looking at other alternatives that are more cost effective, I guess. So,
I'm just not aware of ones that are that relatively close.
sure. Any other questions from the council? What's the will of the council at this point?
I would make a motion to accept the contract as is from United Liquid Waste Recycling Incorporated.
Second to that?
I'll second.
Right, there is a motion and a second to approve the contract with United Liquid Waste and Recycling Incorporated contract without the hold harmless language. Is there any discussion on that motion? Ed?
I'm just very uncomfortable going against the advice of our legal counsel as well as insurance company on this. It gives me great pause.
All right, we have a motion and a second anyway. I understand. I think going through the exercise of finding that language and having the attorney point that out to us that that's what we'd like, and then contacting our insurance company to see if we have coverage. I guess going through the exercise, we've educated ourselves a little bit more. But having had this contract in place in prior years as a backup plan, I do feel like we need to have a backup plan. We may not exercise the contract, but we could be getting into an issue where maybe the DOT starts looking at our facility to say you've broken a different rule, and now you're going to be held accountable versus the risk that's in this contract without the hold harmless language. So with that, unless there's any further discussion, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract. Can we please take a roll call on this, Pat?
Johnson,
Aye.
Reed, Tylen, Traxler,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
unanimous.
Thank you, Council. All right, we'll move on to new business number 1, which is to consider and take action on water quality draft agreements with the Roads Bacon Serve, Stibb Farms, and the Wisconsin Conference. We have Jason Letha here, and we also have Maureen from Rupert Milkey. Maureen was not able to make our last meeting. She's the one who's really been working on this for us, so she'd like to come up and just give us a quick update on where these agreements are at. Hi, Maureen.
So yeah, I'm Maureen Schneider. I've been working with the city and the county on the water quality trading program for some time now. And I wanted to talk today about the status of each of the projects and the status of the contract documents for each of the projects, and then go through any pending questions that still might be out there about the contracts. So for the Wisconsin Conference, that agreement is currently in draft form, but it has been reviewed by the council now, by R&M, and by the Wisconsin Conference. They have approved it in concept and just had minor edits to the to some of the contract language, but the attorney has looked at it, and we've made the necessary updates, and after that they've said that they're ready to sign the agreement. There are some minor edits to the modeling that I've been modeling the amount of phosphorus that we're allowed to take credit for, that I've been working with the county on, and that's going to affect these results in a very minor way. So once we get those results completely finalized, we'll update the contracts once more, and then have to have the executive committee from the Wisconsin Conference review it one more time. But nothing is changing with the concept or with the intent of the document, so they should still be ready to sign. With Roads Bacon Serve, this agreement is also in draft form right now. It's currently being reviewed by the corporate office in Utah for Roads Bacon Serve. They have been very positive the whole time. We don't anticipate any changes. There just might be a few minor edits still from the updates to the modeling that I was talking about that we're working with the county on. But other than that, that agreement we've made, it has been reviewed by the attorney as well, and we've made all the necessary edits to the contract language. So we're really just waiting for a final, if Roads Bacon Serve comes back with any final edits. With Stibb Farms, that agreement has also been sent in draft form to Kurt Stibb, the landowner. He is in the process of reviewing it. We haven't heard back yet from him, but we've had many conversations with him over the past year, and the county has been in contact with him and meeting with him about the practices. So that agreement is also looking positive. We just have to wait to make the final tweaks from the edits to the modeling, and then we'll have a finalized version of that agreement as well. So I think the goal of today and going through these projects is just to try to approve these concepts in the contracts in concept, and then there might be some minor edits that have to happen, and hopefully those can just be handled by city staff afterwards, as long as nothing changes with the concept or the intent of the contracts. So with that said, does anybody have any remaining questions on the contracts or any of the contract documents?
Oh, just a small curiosity. What are the filter strips that are going to be installed?
So a filter strip would just be on the border of an agricultural field. So it would be between a waterway and the agricultural field to just filter as there's runoff coming off from a rainfall event. the runoff would go through that filter strip before going into the waterway.
What is the filter strip itself?
It's a area where there's vegetation planted that's about 50 to 75 feet wide, and it'll be native vegetation with deep roots so that it doesn't just wash out, and that when the runoff hits that patch, it'll be able to infiltrate, and that infiltration is where you see the phosphorus reduction.
Okay, so it's 50 feet or so wide of native vegetation.
Yep.
Okay,
So
thank
it would
you.
just look like
Just
a
curious.
large grassy strip that would be installed to filter out some of the pollutants before they enter the waterway.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Maureen while she's here? I see none. Thank you, Maureen. All right, the agenda item reads to take action on the draft agreements, but as Maureen has stated, I think we've got 3 different contracts that are kind of at 3 different positions. If there's any interest in the council of approving these contracts to allow staff to kind of continue moving forward with them once they get a response, I think that would give us a little efficiency. Or does the council want to see each one of these come back individually for a final review? We can do it either way. Concerns one way or the other?
As long as the changes are minor technical changes, I have no problem moving them forward.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion from the council then to approve the water quality draft agreements.
I'll make a motion to approve the water quality draft agreements with Rhodes Bacon Serve, Stibb Farms, and the Wisconsin Conference, with the understanding that some slight changes may need to occur.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the water quality draft agreements with Rhodes Bacon Serve, Stibb Farms, Wisconsin Conference, understanding that staff can review those changes. Dave, do you have a question?
When you refer to staff, who would have the authority to make any minor changes and execute the contracts?
Would you like to clarify that in your motion, maybe? I believe Rupert Milky's the people that have the task order to
Correct.
negotiate this
That's
for us.
correct.
Yeah. And I believe
Would it be okay if we brought them to the mayor to execute that?
The signatures are for the mayor and the clerk when this is all done.
I'm fine with doing it that way too, because I'm not going to sign anything unless Attorney Johnson and Jason and Maureen and everybody's okay with it. So it saves one step. I'm fine with that. Would you like to retract your motion and reword it so it's a little bit more deliberate, if that's all right?
Make a motion to approve the water quality draft agreements with Rhodes Bacon Serve, Stibb Farms, and the Wisconsin Conference, acknowledging that some slight changes may be made by Rupert Milky, and approved by the mayor and clerk.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the draft agreements with Rhodes Bacon Serve, Stibb Farms, Wisconsin Conference, and that as long as Rupert Milky and appropriate staff is okay with them, that I would be okay to sign those and execute those contracts once that's been met. Any discussion on this? If not, can we please take a roll call, Pat?
Reed? Tylen?
Aye.
Traxler?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. I will move on to new business number 2, which is consider and take action on resolution for Wisconsin DOT Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP, grant application. We've got Matt Schreiber here. We did bring this through the committee of the whole for initial conversation at the last meeting. Looks like there's a resolution in here. Matt, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm here for questions.
All right, questions for Matt on this? Pretty straightforward at the last meeting. This would be a 80-20 match for local grant. If there's no questions for Matt, I'll entertain any action from the council on the resolution. Resolution 5-20, Resolution of Support for Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP Grant, 2020 to 2024 application.
I'll move to approve resolution 5-20 for Wisconsin Department of Transportation TAP program grant application.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 5-20 for the TAP grant application. Any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Matt. Looks like Matt's going to stay there for the next agenda item, which is consider and take action on the application process for the use of the May Ward Fund. Again, this was reviewed at the last committee of the whole. I believe there were a few minor changes that were suggested in the language on the application. Matt, did you have anything to add?
No, I made the edits as suggested from the last meeting, and really at this point, I'm just here for questions as well.
Questions for Matt while he's up? Everything looks to be updated from the last meeting. If there are no questions for Matt, I'll entertain a motion to approve the application process for the May Ward Fund, item number 3.
Motion to approve application process for the May Ward Fund.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the application process for the use of the May Ward Fund. Is there any discussion on that motion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On to item number 4, consider and take action on the Plan Commission's recommendation to approve the condominium plat of condominium on the Green 2, addendum number 1. This came as a recommendation from the Plan Commission. Just so happens Matt's right here from the Plan Commission. Give us a...
Yeah, so this was one that came to us from the applicant. Their attorney informed them that they needed to update their condo plat because they were changing their last phase of development that was shown on their previous condo plat. So checked in with Paul. He said that that's correct. So I walked them through the final plat process, which necessitated a Plan Commission review. One thing I would add is they did remove one side-by-side condo because it was now in the floodplain as of the 2016 floodplain map. But there really weren't very many issues or concerns at the Plan Commission level, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't approve it. So.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt while he's up? Seems pretty straightforward. It's a recommendation from the Plan Commission. If there are no questions, I entertain action to approve the condominium plat of the condominium on the Green 2, addendum number 1.
I'll move to approve the condominium plat of condominium on the Green 2, addendum number 1, as submitted by the Plan Commission.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation from the Plan Commission as read. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to item number 5. Thank you, Matt. Consider and take action on RFP to contract for lawn mowing services for 2020. This was brought to the last committee of the whole meeting for some discussion. Zach is here. Hi,
Good
Zach.
evening. This came forward with the requested insurance information. Attorney Johnson has had a chance to look this over based on the standard insurance. One thing we were asking was to actually lower the insurance requirements for this grass cutting. I am concerned that with the requirements that we have in here from our standard verbiage, that's going to scare contractors away. After speaking with Attorney Johnson, felt like it might be appropriate to cut it in half. Before we move forward with it, just like to get any questions or concerns with it.
Questions for Zach?
Yeah.
Andy, go ahead.
So what's on page 7, is that the cut in half version, or is
That's
the full?
the standard version.
That's the standard.
Correct.
101.5.
Correct.
Million.
This came from the general engineering contract, was the last time this was used. So it's a little bit more understandable that you're looking for those bigger numbers for a contract like that versus mowing a yard.
Do you know what we had in our last contract with the lawn mowing service?
We didn't have it in
We didn't
there.
have anything, that's right. Alright.
Trina, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just wondering if, $1 million aggregate might be more common for someone to have for insurance?
I'd have to look to Attorney Johnson if you'd have any knowledge of that.
I have no direct knowledge as to what an appropriate amount of insurance for a lawn mowing contract should be, to be quite honest. What you have in front of you is the quote-unquote standard language that is in a lot of the city contracts. To me, and that's why Zach and I suggested this is probably a little bit high for lawn mowing services, but I couldn't tell you where the proper amount is or should be.
And I think it's good to consider or remember that when we do have a preferred contractor that we're gonna move forward with, that we can work out that insurance at that time to make sure it's where we want it.
Any other questions or concerns? Well, Zach is up. Let's see, yeah, I don't have a concern with it. I think if we want more competitive bidding, someone maybe who has a larger established business maybe already has this level of insurance, but for a smaller startup company, they may have less insurance because they have less clients as well. All right, Ed, did you have another question? All right, if there's no more questions or no further questions, I'll entertain any action then on new business number 5.
I'll move that we approve the RFP as amended orally tonight with lower insurance rates on the contract for lawn mowing services for 2020.
All right, we have a motion, a second, to approve the RFP to contract for lawn mowing services for 2020 as verbally edited at this meeting. Is there any further discussion on that? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Number 6, consider and take action on weed, grass, shrubbery removal fee schedule. Is Zach still up here? This went through the committee of the whole the last meeting. I believe we were moving forward with what was discussed at the last meeting. Was there any changes, significant changes, Zach?
Nope, the only request was that I start to look into what neighboring communities are getting for the contract side of the thing, not for our side, so I will have that prepared when we get a final contractor in place.
The recommendation was that the administrative fee is $73.64.
That's correct.
Any questions for Zach while he's up? Trina?
Oh, much like for the snow, I still find the new administration fees way too high. Just a comment.
Andy?
Much like the snow, I would like to say this is a great idea. We need to recoup our costs. So, contrary to Trina, I mean, you can't lose money on when we're doing business in the city. We're not making money. This isn't a money grab. This is to, recoup the cost of what actually is costing us to do the service. If you don't want the fee, mow your yard.
Any further discussion or questions? If not, I'll entertain any action then on item number 6.
I'll move to approve the weed, grass, and shrubbery removal fee schedule.
A motion, a second, to approve the weed, grass, shrubbery removal fee schedule. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. I'm gonna move on to number 7. Zach's still up there. Consider and take action on Fireman's Park Second Ward Creek Stormwater Project. This is something we have discussed at length. Zach has gotten estimates from the county to do some ditching work out there. We had a hole developed last year that needs to be fixed. So is
Yep.
there any updates on any of this, or is everything
Interim
as is?
Burner had asked that I get a contract from the county
Okay.
that we could sign. So I did get that. You'll see there are some comments from Attorney Johnson on that, and since this was submitted, I have received that updated contract from the county.
Okay. This is part of the amended capital projects list of items we need to get done this year, so.
Correct.
Any questions for Zach while he's up?
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
as you mentioned, this is in the budget, it's in the amendment to the capital projects budget that you approved. Would it be helpful for the community, if they're watching tonight, for him to just briefly summarize the scope of the project?
Yes,
And,
please.
and maybe the timing of that?
Sure.
Okay.
So this is be approximately 430-foot section from the bridge next to the deer pen to the opening by the American Legion that will be turned into an open ditch. Currently, there is a culvert underground, and the county will rip out that culvert and put a nice riprap to match what is upstream, and it'll run completely on the outside of the pen of the deer park there, so that there is still access to feed the deer. And that work will happen as soon as we have good weather to do it, and the county can get in. With a approximate 2-week start to finish date.
Okay. Very good. Any further questions or discussion on this?
Thank you, Zach. for
Yep.
your work.
Yeah, thank you. Entertain,
I had a quick question.
go ahead, Trina, sorry. I didn't
Just,
see that.
are we pretty confident that it would take a maximum of 2 weeks?
Weather
Would there be a
dependent.
weather,
Weather dependent, if they start
disaster
and
storm?
if they start it and we get second week is full of rain or what rain, snow, who knows, that'll obviously push it up, but 2 weeks of good weather and they'll have it done, is what I've been told.
So if there winds up being a horrible surprise storm, we would then have to pay for the additional time to rent for the pump. Okay.
Hopefully we'll get some good weather and things stay on schedule. Those pumps would be tested to their capacity, I'm sure. Andy, do you have a question or no? All right. Unless there's any further discussion, I'll entertain any action then on item number 7.
I'll move to approve the work at Fireman's Park, Second Ward Creek, the stormwater project.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion, a second, to approve the Second Ward, Fireman's Park Second Ward Creek Stormwater Project, which is part of our amended capital projects. Any further discussion on that or questions? If none, could we please take a roll call, Pat?
Tylen?
Aye.
Traxler?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Reed? Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 8, Zach again. Consider and take action on purchase of the street sweeper for the DPW. Zach brought information, photo, and some specs on the new street sweeper he's been looking at for the DPW. I believe the price is still firm?
Yep.
Hasn't changed?
Correct.
All right.
You have nothing to add there, just in case anyone has any more questions.
I believe after the last meeting, I saw an email from, maybe was it the county or the DOT, talking about our stormwater, and I believe this is very timely that we're
Correct.
buying a new street sweeper. Did you want to add a little bit about that?
As part of the 89 project, they
Okay.
just look for information as to how often we get to that work based on the inlets that we're gonna put in for stormwater and everything. Just kind of stuff to prove that we're doing our due diligence there and keeping up with storm sewer as much as possible.
And hopefully this will help keep things out of the storm sewer.
Correct.
Excellent. All right, any questions for Zach while he's up? There are no questions then. Again, this is part of the amended capital projects. Entertain any action from the council on item number 8 then.
I'll move to approve the purchase of the street sweeper for the DPW, in the amount of $159,750 minus the $10,000 trade-in credit for a grand total of $149,750.
I'll second.
A motion, a second, to approve the purchase of the new street sweeper for the DPW, the amount of $149,750. Any further discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion on the motion, Pat, could you please take a roll call for us?
Tylen?
Aye.
Traxler?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Reed? Unanimous.
Thanks again, Zach, for all your work on that. Move on to new business number 9, consider and take action on the purchase of radios for the police department. This was on the list of capital projects and was included in the amendment. Total amount is for $56,275.57. Chief Dennis Weiner is here for any questions the council might have.
I'll just provide a real quick summary of the
Hit the mic, it's the speak button. There you go,
there we
got
go.
it. Yep.
That's the wrong one. Just want to provide a real short recap of what this project is. I realize it's a great deal of money, so I want everybody to understand what we're doing. We are dispatched by the Columbia County Sheriff's Department, and mid-year, give or take some time, when everything gets in place for all the departments, they are switching to a digital radio signal. We are currently using an analog radio signal in this county. The only switches are taking place for law enforcement, so fire departments aren't affected, or other entities. What that means is, I guess the best comparison would be to comparing, for those of us who are old enough to remember, the old rabbit ears or the antenna on the roof with the rotor and you turn the thing, receiving an analog TV signal. And now with the new technology, digital TV signals. They're not compatible. The squad radios and the portables that we have are 10 to 11 years old, which is pretty much their lifespan, and they are not upgradable to receive a digital or an encrypted radio signal. So it gets down to when the county makes this change, if we don't do anything, we cannot communicate with them at all. We use these radios 24 hours a day. They're in all the squads. The officers carry radios. We have a base station at the office that our front office staff use. It's fed into a bigger system where at strategic locations in the police department we have what we call a desktop radio so that officers can hear the radios and transmit from the building. Since the addition of the metal roof on our building a few years ago, our portable radios do not function in the building. Similar with cell signals, it's very hard to make or keep a cell call in our building because of the metal roof. So it's important that we kind of do this as one project. From date of order to delivery would be a couple of months, give or take, and I believe mid-year, maybe a little later, the county is going to make that change. It's not a matter of will help us communicate better, it'll help us communicate, period. You're either communicating digital or you're not communicating at all. So it's not that we want new radios because ours are kind of old and it's time. It's a matter of we're not going to be able to talk to the dispatchers or the other county cars or municipalities because we're a user of their system, and when they make a change, unfortunately, we have to as well be responsive to that. If our radios were newer, maybe 2, 3, 4 years old, they probably would have these upgrade capabilities, and we'd be able to do it just with simple programming costs, but these radios are not upgradable.
Thanks, Dennis. Any questions for Dennis while he's up here? And this was discussed through our capital projects amendment as well, so it is budgeted for at this point. So if there are no further questions for Dennis, then I'll entertain any action from the council on new business number 9.
I'll move to approve the purchase of the radios for the police department.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the purchase of the radios for the police department, the amount of $56,275.57. Any discussion on the motion? There's no further discussion. Pat, can you please take a roll?
Traxler?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Reed? Tylen?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Dennis. Move on to new business number 10, consider and take action on resolution to include library as additional site for absentee voting for April 7th, 2020 spring election. This is something Pat brought forward to me a while ago. I believe she's been working with the library director, Lindsay Gans, kind of doing a trial run for the spring election in April with 2 evenings per week at the library from 4:30 to 8 p.m. just to kind of expand the early voting hours for residents, which I think is a great opportunity. If we get approval of this tonight, this resolution is moved forward to March 3rd, the council meeting for approval. Pat will have to immediately publish the required notification of absentee hours and locations by March 7th, so this is just another step in the process to give another opportunity to our residents for voting. Any questions on this? Pat can answer them, otherwise I'll entertain any motion.
Oh, do we know what the 2 days of the week will be yet, or that's still being determined? Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution for item number 10.
I'll move to add the library as an additional absentee voting site for the April-spring election 2020.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution to include the library as additional site for absentee voting for April 7th, 2020 spring election. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for your work on that, Pat. Number 11, consider and take action on claims in the amount of $2,356,000 or $356,561.21. That's a very large number for anybody that watches or follows the claims, but just so you're aware that those are taxes that are property taxes that are paid in and then paid out to other taxing authorities like technical school, the county, school district, etc. So we haven't spent that much money. Any questions on the claims? If there are no questions on the claims, I'll entertain a motion to approve those claims.
Make a motion to approve the claims in the amount read.
Motion and a second to approve the claims in the amount of $2,356,561.21. Any discussion on the motion? If none, can we please take a roll call, Pat?
Traxler.
Aye.
Gray. Johnson.
Aye.
Reed. Tylen.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. On to report of city officers. I'll turn it over to you first, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. I think as you're all well aware, it's been a busy week. Your new HR administrator started Monday, February 24th, Pamela Frederick, and she's here tonight. So I'd ask Pamela to stand up. Pamela Frederick, she's had a busy week, and it's been good to work with her. She's been involved in, as you can imagine, getting settled into her new responsibilities, and been very supportive of this process this weekend and participated in that process. So I think she's going to be a great addition to your team. At this time, I'd just like to take a minute and refer to the joint memo that Finance Director and I worked together on and submitted in your packet with regard to borrowing for capital projects. The council in prior action approved the borrowing for the Hibbert Street reconstruction project and a portion of the stormwater restoration work in Second Ward Creek. There is an outstanding item with the LRIP grant. The city applied for to offset the cost of the project. Per the city engineer report, the tentative date for the LRIP grant notification is March 20th. Once this is received, obviously this could impact the amount that will be borrowed. The sewer utility, as you know, the council approved moving forward with the Uber screen replacement at the sewer treatment plant facility, and actually approved a bid amount of $962,122. We anticipate the borrowing, the sewer utility borrowing, to be $1 million to pay for that project plus contingencies. We have organized a utility team meeting Thursday the 5th to review and discuss capital projects for the utility. Because of a medical emergency, meetings between the senior operator and the city engineer hadn't occurred to update the capital plans. However, this has now happened, and the utility team is meeting to review those updates. And the results of that meeting will be reported at a future committee of the whole meeting. We're targeting March 16th. So the update is that, per the finance director, she's been in contact with Greg Johnson of Ehlers to model potential borrowing amounts based on the update and the bids. And after the grant notification is known, the council can then accept the bid for Hibbert Street, review the sewer utility projects, and then move forward with the bond resolutions. The bond resolution borrowings as of now are summarized in the report, and I'll just read those so the public can have an idea. And just for review, the Hibbert Street reconstruction is $1,385,000. We've rounded up from $1,382,998. The stormwater reconstruction of $84,000 is rounded up to $85,000 for a total of $1,470,000 for GO borrowing. For the sewer utility, for the screen replacement, it's been rounded to $1 million for the debt modeling from the 962,122. So once we have knowledge of that grant on the 20th approximately, the council will need to look at that obviously and then determine what the borrowing would be, and we'll move forward with the resolutions and the process will go forward. Just one other thing, item is that just to remind you that the special assessment resolution or hearing is scheduled for next Tuesday, March 10th, here at 6:30. The engineer will present his report, and there will be a hearing to give residents an opportunity to be heard, and a preliminary resolution will be reviewed by the committee of the whole to set the assessments, the final assessments. So that'll be here next Tuesday at 6:30. The legal notification has been published, and the notifications have been mailed to the residents. The engineer's report is available in the clerk's office for inspection. We also sent a copy of the engineer's report to each of the affected residents, and I believe you all got a copy of that as well. So, any questions?
One question on the borrowing is the wastewater project, the Huber screen, that's going to be a revenue bond?
Correct.
Okay.
Of the utility, correct.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Dave?
No,
All right.
sir.
Thank you. I did have the the public hearing on my list as well, but thanks for covering that. Wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that. That'll be a week from today. Also a reminder that our next city council meeting is rescheduled for Monday, March 16th, I believe, to allow for officials to attend the annual business ag dinner the evening of March 17th, I believe.
Yes.
There are several upcoming Columbus School District referendum informational meetings. Tuesday, March 10th at 7 p.m. at the high school at 1164 Farnham Street, and also Thursday, March 26th at 7 p.m. at the elementary school, 200 Fuller Street. All the meetings begin at 7 p.m. with a brief presentation followed by a Q&A and optional facility tours. If you're unable to attend these meetings but would like more information, please visit the school district website. I know there's a phone number and a specific email address where you can get a response and get any answers for any questions you might have on that. So I want to let you know I attended the APPA, or the American Public Power Association legislative rally last week, Monday through Wednesday, February 24th to the 26th in Washington, D.C., along with Columbus Water and Light Commissioner Larry Olson. Those are things that I typically don't have time to participate in, but I did go for the first time last year and really enjoyed it and found it very beneficial. So I decided to make time this year to attend once again. I enjoyed learning more about the efforts being made by APP on behalf of public power communities like Columbus and across the country, and how we can all help advocate for local control of our utilities. I again had the opportunity to meet mayors, elected and appointed officials, and utility managers from across the state. I enjoy the opportunity to discuss utility issues as well as just common issues many other municipalities in Wisconsin face. So, and I won't brag about the weather. It wasn't tropical weather, but it was a nice break from the winter for a few days. But I enjoyed the trip. Lastly, as Dave has alluded to, we've been very, very busy the last week. The city hosted a candidate meet and greet at the Fireman's Pavilion last Friday evening, where the 5 finalists for the city administrator's position were invited to meet with city department heads along with elected and appointed city officials. Candidates were offered the opportunity to give a brief elevator speech to introduce themselves, as well as revolving table discussions with all the candidates to ask questions and allow for an opportunity to learn more about each candidate in a more casual and relaxed environment. Earlier in the day, all the candidates were given a tour of the city. Tours were given by Chamber member Dave Malone and also Patty Walker, who's the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Prairie Ridge Healthcare. I wanted to thank Dave and Patty for taking the time to provide those tours and for helping welcome the candidates to the city of Columbus. Saturday was also a long day. PAA, our consulting firm, who we engaged to help us in our search for the city administrator position, provided a well-rounded format of exercises throughout the day, including emotional intelligence test for candidates, writing exercise, as well as interviews by the entire city staff, while city council conducted interviews with each candidate. I think we put in about a 9-hour day on Saturday, but I'm very proud at the level of involvement and inclusion that everybody, including the council and city staff, definitely was very, very proud of the process. So I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to participate. That's all I had. Anyone want to add anything? All right. Thank you. Well, we won't be adjourning. We will be moving into closed session briefly. We will be reconvening to open session, but we'll be off the air briefly. So the next thing would be to move to adjourn a closed session pursuant to state statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub c, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, to review the city administrator treasurer employment agreement recommended by the committee of the whole, and then we will reconvene to open session. Sorry. I read the next line. Need a motion and a second to move into closed session for the reasons read.
I move to go into closed session for the reasons read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mayor?
Sorry.
I would request permission to invite the HR administrator in closed session as well as the police chief.
No problem with that. Does any council member? I see no problem
Thank
with
you.
that whatsoever. Thank you. All right. We did have a motion and a second then to move into closed session. Then we'll need a roll call. Pat?
Gray,
Aye.
Johnson, Reed, Tylen, Traxler.
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right. We will be in closed session briefly, hopefully briefly, and then we'll be reconvening to open session as soon as possible. Thank you. have reconvened to open session. We are going to move on to new business, item number 15. Ed, did you have the motion ready? I don't want to read the agenda item. Turn your microphone on, please.
Move that we approve an employment agreement with, are we naming our candidate? Kyle Ellefson, subject to final contract negotiations and passing a background check.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the employment agreement with Kyle Ellison for the city administrator treasurer for the reasons stated with the contingencies. Is there any further discussion on the motion? There is none. Can we please take a roll call?
Johnson?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Tylen?
Aye.
Traxler?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we stand adjourned for just a minute, and we'll return with the committee of the whole meeting. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back to the Committee of the Whole. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 8:40 p.m. Thanks for sticking around late with us tonight. Pat, if you could take the roll.
Gray,
Present?
Johnson,
Here.
Reed. Here. Tylen.
Here.
Tome.
Here.
Trexler.
Here. This meeting was noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. First thing up we need to do is approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the matter? All right, all in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, citizen comments on agenda items. No one had signed up. Is there anybody present that wished to speak that didn't get a chance to sign up? Seeing none. Next up, number 5, department reports. We have an EMS report from January, a media report from January, finance director, final major class comparison assessment report from Department of Revenue. Any questions or concerns about the department reports? Ed? Your lights on. Number 6, committee minutes. We have minutes from the HLPC for February 12th and February 13th. PFC from, I have no idea what date that is. 11/18 of 11/1/8/10. Anyway, PFC, cable commissions from 1/8/20, water and light from 1/19/20, library from 6/28/19, tourism from 1/6/20, plan commission from 1/16/20, and CDA from 1/20/20. Any questions about the committee minutes? All right, seeing none. First up tonight, continued discussion on amendments for the 2019 budget to qualify for the expenditure restraint payment. Kim Manley, Finance Director, is here, and here for any questions or comments. Go ahead if you're.
Just that this was provided at the last Committee of the Whole and tabled to this meeting.
Right.
I did have a couple of council members reach out to me with some questions. I think we've got those answered, but if anyone has any additional questions, that's what I'm here for.
Right. So in the packet, we have resolution 2-20, a resolution to recognize various budget amendments to the 2019 operating budgets of multiple funds. Again, this, I think, like I highlighted at the last meeting, this isn't necessarily that we've overspent on each line. There were some adjustments, some lines underspent. This is just to balance everything out, right?
Correct.
Okay. Good. So Kim is up there for any questions. I don't know, Kim, do you want to just touch on the questions you got from council? And
Just questions pertain to some of the municipal court expenditures and revenues. When we put the municipal court budget together for 2019, we put it together with some assumptions that the city's portion of the fines and forfeitures would remain within the municipal court fund and be used to help offset the operating expenses. Likewise, we thought that the attorney fees for municipal prosecutions would be carried through that fund as well. But the judge basically informed us that that's not the way that municipal court fund should operate, that the city has to have its own fines and forfeitures within its own general fund and reflect the expenses for attorney's fees within the general fund. It can't run through municipal court. So that's one of the questions that I received as far as, we started out with a 0 for both, but we actually had activity in both, and so the budget amendment reflects the fact that we did receive fines and forfeitures as a revenue, and we did spend attorney's fees for the court, prosecutions.
okay.
And the other question was more the logistics of what a budget amendment is really for, and it's kind of like you said, you want to bring things to be more accurate with what actually happened throughout the year, one for historical purposes, but also, in this case, by doing the budget amendment, it puts the city in a better position to qualify for that expenditure restraint program aid payment from the state, which we'd receive then on the 2021 budget.
Right. Okay. That's a good recap from Kim. Any questions from council? Concerns? Nothing? Okay. Well, we'll move that forward to the next regular meeting.
And certainly if more questions come up between now and then, you know, my door's open, my email's on.
Okay. Thank you for that one, Kim.
All right.
Next up, number 8, review and discuss engagement letter with Baker Tilly for the 2020 sewer rate study.
This is pretty straightforward. According to our bond documents, we're required to do a rate study every 2 years, and the primary reason for that is the bondholders or interested parties need to know that we can not only meet our operational costs, but also sustain the debt service payments. And so when the city went out for request for proposals for audit firms, we did ask them to also quote the rate studies every 2 years. So you can see in the financial, or in the narrative, we have $9,200 for the audit, $7,500 for the rate study, and that's what we did budget and approve for 2020 for the sewer utilities professional services for audit.
Okay. And you reviewed the engagement letter.
I've read through it. I need to send it to Paul, though. That's the one thing that I did omit to do, so I'll do that before it goes to the regular meeting to make sure there aren't any concerns that he would have.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same letter we had the last time. The language is very, very similar, so.
Okay. So that'll give you, Paul, does that give you enough time to review before the March 16th meeting?
I took a real quick look at it in the packet and didn't see anything that jumped out, but I'll look again.
Any questions for Kim? Comments? All right. We'll move that one forward to the next regular meeting on March 16th.
Thank you very much.
And Attorney Johnson will have a look over of it and make sure everything's in order. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to number 10. Number 9, information isn't ready for this tonight, so we'll put that that'll move that forward to another meeting. So number 10, review and discuss the offer to purchase of decommissioned blowers from the wastewater treatment plant. And John Namer is here from wastewater treatment. John, do you want to kind of explain what's going on with this?
Project earlier in 2019. They were offered us GC Cross. The people that we purchased the new blowers from are willing to take these blowers back for $1,000 each. Below $3,000, they'll come and get them, remove them. They're really of no use to us. They would recondition them and put them in another system where they would fit. But right now they're just in our way essentially. I did offer them to the other departments, and believe it or not, nobody got no takers from them. Even Amy Jo, I thought they could maybe blow air into the pool and have bubble night or something like that, but
I love that.
No takers there either, but
So that was my question. I was going to ask if you followed all the guidelines of the asset disposal policy. The only question is in that policy, I don't recall if we require it to, if you can just sell it to this company, or do we have to put it out there for anyone to buy? Can't recall right now. I don't know if Mayor Tone can remember.
I think there's wording in the policy for the most efficiency that it doesn't necessarily need to go to an auction where you may not have an audience. John brought this to me just to make sure he was following the policy as well, but he did say that they had done some work years ago at the wastewater treatment plant where they had a similar arrangement where the contractors were there, they took the old equipment, they got a small amount of money for it, but just in the just to be more efficient. Obviously there's a buyer here that can do something with them, so I didn't think that we really needed to go through the process of putting them up for auction to see if anybody's even interested, and then go here when you've already got a buyer that's willing to take them off our hands.
I looked and I couldn't, believe it or not, again, I couldn't find any comparables to these. There's just not a lot of those items out there. That's what these people do. They recondition these blowers. They're a blower company. They've got a market for them. We might sit on those for quite some time. I've looked on auction sites where a lot of this obsolete or decommissioned equipment sits on there for quite a while.
Okay. I guess my last question then, would this fall under go into the asset disposal fund, or does this stay within the utility, since we're really two different budgets?
I think it's going to stay with this
So if we could just get clarification from that, hey Dave, go ahead. You got your
I think it's a good plan to keep it in the utility.
Okay.
It's a utility asset and it should stay in their fund.
Yeah, I knew we have the city policy and that says it needs to go to the asset disposal fund, so, but this is within the utility, so, and I don't know if that, the city policy falls on, the city, or the utility has to follow that, so.
If there's other guidelines I need to follow, we can
I-
certainly do that.
I mean, it sounds like everything's in order, I just wanna make sure, Dave clarified for me that it should stay in the utility, and I'm fine with that. Mike?
Yeah, I'm on the Water and Light Commission as well, and they follow the same policy the city has when they dispose things. However, the funds stay in that enterprise fund, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Fine with me. All right, any questions or comments on that? Move that one forward. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Next up, number 11, review and discuss changes to the Cable Commission ordinance. I gotta find that one here. We got out of order in the packet here. I know Lisa is back there, but I mean, me and Ed were both a part of this. We're in the Cable Commission. I mean, these are, so basically we're just updating the cable ordinance. The first highlight, we're lessening the commission members from 6 to 5, removing the need from to have a member from Water and Light. The thought about, a while back is, with Water and Light and the Cable Commission, maybe we're using their light poles for cable or whatever, and that's not really something that's being done. So we don't really need that anymore. Removing, second highlight was we're removing the need for the commission's secretary to be a member of the commission. That way the staff can be the secretary, the city staff can do that. We added the word annually to one of the sections. I mean, the red line is in here if you guys want to ask questions. We're changing the verbiage from lead cable coordinator to media coordinator, which Lisa is, in one section, and then we're removing review and develop a master plan for the use of public access channels due to redundancy. So I think me and Ed both voted for this at the Cable Commission, and I support all the changes. Ed, did you have anything else to add?
It captures what we, and I urge us to go forward unless anybody has any questions.
Mary Tom?
I don't have any questions, but I'll offer my support. I think the removal of the Water and Light Commission chair was brought up here probably a year ago. I brought this up at the Water and Light Commission. There's no desire for them to have a member on the Cable Commission for the reasons you stated. This used to be about pole attachment issues years ago. We can resolve those between the Utility Commission and the Council or the Commission when they arise, but I don't think that needs to be there, so I think that's going to be a big benefit to clean it up. So thank you for the work that you did on that.
Yep. All right, everybody okay moving that forward to the March 16th regular meeting? Perfect. Next up, number 12, review and discuss access easement for Senview Farms to cross city-owned lands from lands north of the wastewater treatment plant. Matt came up.
Sure.
Go for it.
Well, both Paul and I will probably speak a little on this, but I put the packet together.
Well, Paul said it was only going to take a minute, so.
Okay, well then I guess I'll give the brief version. I do.
Oh yeah, I know. All right, go for it.
If you want the minute version, I can live with that. So you guys have reviewed this numerous times in the past. There's a draft agreement that I think you've seen before. There's a final draft that's in your packet. Paul notified me 5 minutes ago that, first let me back up. The Senview Farms actually signed the agreement the other day. Paul notified me 5 minutes ago that they signed an old version of the agreement, so now we're going to have them re-sign it. But they've already signed off on the access agreement. We are waiting for Bruker Milky, when they have a survey crew in the area, to piggyback and do the work for the easement. So the attachment has not been created yet. So really what Paul was going to do is hold the agreement in trust until essentially the attachment for the map was created, and then it would be ready to be recorded. Did I miss anything in that?
Ed? We're just gonna go right to Ed.
So even though the easement's recorded in Columbia County, any disputes are gonna be litigated in, easements recorded in Dodge, any disputes would be litigated in Columbia? All right, and the terms of this easement are intended to run with the land in perpetuity. We don't wanna put any 99 years or anything like that on there?
Sorry, Lisa. This was the one paragraph 7 that you're looking at, I
Yes.
presume, that has went back and forth during the course of this process. And most easements run with the land in perpetuity. The council at one point in time asked that it be applicable only to Senhen and their family members, and they wanted it put back the other way so that it's in perpetuity. So that's what you have now.
Is that the way most easements, aside from cities, are done, are always done in perpetuity?
99.9% of all easements are in perpetuity to run with the land, because once you have something, you don't want it to go away.
That makes sense.
Okay. Questions? Not seeing any. That was all you had, Ed? Disappointed in you. Alright. So, we need to move that forward to the regular meeting, and so when you're holding this in, you're gonna hold it in trust, can you just explain that to us? What you're gonna do?
Absolutely. Even though the wrong document has been sent, that's an easy fix, and I'm gonna hold, Mr. Senhen and his attorney wanted to sign the documents and send them over to the city as a sign of, we're ready to go, we finally have this done, and let's move forward. So that was their show of good faith, and the city, unfortunately, we can't finalize everything until we have the easement or the legal description actually done. So the last step in the process will be to review that with Mr. Senhen and his attorney, and once they're comfortable and the city's comfortable, and the council will approve that legal description as well, by the way, all the pieces are done and we'll get everything recorded. So it's just basically step 1 of being done.
Okay.
Finally.
So just move that forward to the March 16th meeting. You'll have time to, I'm sure you'll get the corrected things signed, and thank you. Okay. All right. Next up is number 13, review and discuss the agreement with Senview Farms regarding the city-owned land north of the wastewater treatment plant.
Once again, this was reviewed by council back in August and September of last year. The draft MOU was sent over, and once again, the Senview signed it yesterday. So we have a signed copy, waiting to be executed. So, any questions?
Yes. Well, the parties above are noted as Senview Farms, and in the easement document that we just moved forward, it's Senview Farms. Paragraph 3A, it becomes Senview Dairy LLC. Is that intentional? Okay, so even though the agreement says Senview Farm, is here after Senview?
The company that is actually going to be using the easement.
Anything else? I had a question. I was looking at this earlier. Okay, I was just gonna ask about the detail, but I see the date in there, spring, okay. All right, I didn't have any other questions on that. Matt, did you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Anyone else up here? All right, move that forward to the next regular meeting.
Actually, I do, now that I think about it, just
Ah.
quickly. Next meeting, we will have the MOU with Odd Fellows coming forward, so it's sticking to the timeline that I presented at the last meeting, so
Oh.
just FYI, so.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else? All All right, if there's nothing else, I'm entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, couple seconds to adjourn. Any discussion?
Let's adjourn.
With Tome and Gray. All in favor for, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.